can't control.
Oh, thank you. Wow. Wow. So they're looking, they don't understand, not say they. Those,
okay, let's go to the alien connection.
And yes, do that for us. And wait, but you see,
all of them aliens, okay, them foreigners, the people that came from other places came here to learn from us.
Oh, wow.
We didn't go there to learn from them. They came here to learn from us. The Atlantis civilization, as they call it, was the global civilization of the planet. Earth was heaven then.
Okay.
The problem was some of the people that came to learn from us felt like Christopher Columbus felt.
Uh-oh. Okay. How so?
These people are kind, they're generous. These women are the angels of the earth. They will be easy to conquer because they only have a few masculines. The position of masculine was not as common as it is now. And a lot of these masculines, I call them NPC, non-player characters, they mitochondria gonna get cut off for being bitch-ass niggas. Now, can't say it no other way.
I can't even. I can't.
When the solar flare hit, and the Schumann resonance makes the earth shake, Atlas shrugs off the parasites, right? And anything that's on the wrong frequency, when the blasts go out, will be turned off. And that's just the significance to the cycles. We caught the Maherta. We alerted the people. We pointed out the shift in the change of Pisces to the age of Aquarius while it was transpiring, using the oral tradition of the tribes of the land, putting it in the public domain. As the stars move into the alignment, we let the people watch it happen. And we gave them the truth to see as opposed to a political satire show to watch. Even the political satire pointed them to the same stellar alignments. You have to open up the mind by getting their head out the sand. And the sand is in the desert. And the Arabian sands is the sand that's confusing them. Because it's the home of the war. So Houthi went to set up Egypt to watch them niggas they landed on Mount Hermon. This is your fallen angel story. Ain't nobody failed. They came down here. The so-called war in heaven, extraterrestrial warfare, landed on Earth.
Thank you. Thank you. So those are these stories we hear. These are all aliens, so-called aliens.
They are aliens, except for the ones that was on the ground already.
Okay.
Because they tell you the story from both the ones that came down. Then they tell you the story from the perspective of the ones that's watching it on the ground. But remember, less than 0.01% of people of the day supposed to have been able to read and write.
Right.
Let that sink in for a minute. So who's telling the stories, and why are they telling the stories in the manner they're telling them, and what do that have to do with how we see our worldview today? It's playing a long game. The average person is only living for today. But the eternal ones watch the long game because they got nothing else to do. We done did this before. This ain't our first rodeo, and this ain't our last dance.
Thank you. Excuse me. Did they teach us writing, how to write and read? Because that's what some of the stories say about we
was telepathic. We didn't need to write we knew how to read or transfer information, but we would have to put it on stuff. It was telepathic. All of us was on a telepathic mental network.
Right. Speaking through the mind. But I believe that. I definitely am all.
It was impossible to forget anything.
And what about telekinesis, like psychokinesis?
we was able to do all that. We still able to do it. We just don't know how to train the faculty.
I know how to do it, but they make fun of me, so I stopped doing it on the internet. I stopped showing everybody.
Listen, once you learn how to use the psychic faculty, almost all of that stuff, like superhero powers you see in the cartoons, are exaggerations.
Yes, sir.
Dial it down and say, what would this look like in reality? Right? Storm can control the weather. That's not a fallacy.
No.
Because the woman is intimately connected with nature. That's why they didn't have a man controlling the weather.
Wow. Thank you, Max. Thank you, everybody. Hit the like. This is a real honor. This is a real treat. This information is awesome. So, did you see that? Have you ever seen the video? Mr. Hayes, Chief Hayes, Sakina, the brother who can call the space, the UFOs, he can call them with his mind. Have you seen that? What about that though? Because when you're talking about controlling the weather, I don't know if you can still hear me. I know you're muted. When you talk about controlling the weather, I've seen people be able to like move the clouds. Can we call these UAPs and move the clouds? Talk to us about that.
They only answer the ones with a specific blood iron ratio.
Mm-hmm.
Your blood iron is going to be the transmitter that activates your melanin for you to be the beacon. And you have to know the frequency to tune in to call them. Right? I don't call them because I don't want them come bothering me.
Right.
I'm earthborn. So if I call them, I'm giving them permission to be here and I want their ass gone.
Okay. So are they invaders? Are they invading us?
Yes, that's the invaders. They actually came through a portal from a mirror dimension.
Oh, okay.
They inverted. This is why they tried to create so much confusion in our families, in our identities of self, because they are intrusions. They are inversions of what we are. The women that we have, 2X our women do. What look like a male to them has 2X's.
I believe that. I can see that.
What look like a female have an XY. I call them seahorses. And these are the ones who taught homosexuality to humans, according to the text that's written in where they landed.
And Chief Hayes, isn't that like in the, because you see the writings in the ancient writings, the Bible, of course, and so they talk about the male temple prostitutes.
Yeah.
Is that similar to that?
That's the male temple prostitutes was when they was having breeding farms. This is modern interpretation of something that was going on in the ancient time. When you say that they were male temple prostitutes, they were studs.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see what you're saying.
I'm gonna rent you this stud because this is my slave.
Interesting.
They show us the same stuff when they tell us about this fake narrative slave story in the plantations with family farms. We live together anyway. In family groups, they call them tribes. But if the tribe was already on the land, you have to figure out a way to disassociate him from his heritable birthright of property through the motherland. All this stuff is manipulation. It traces all the way back to Mount Hermon.
To Mount where?
Mount Hermon. They call it Mount Sinai, Mount Zion, the Holy Mountain.
I got you.
Mountain of the Fallen Ones. This is where they landed at. That wasn't a mountain, it was a launch pad.
I want to say thank you, Sasusu.
They went rogue and decided to go into business for themselves. That's what the whole story is. Simyaza and all that.
Semyaza, yeah. Book of Enoch.
Yeah. Because they decided to go into business because they wanted to conquer Earth because under the galactic law, military conquest is permissible.
Okay, wow.
It's a free will universe, but you can be conquered and your universe can be changed depending on what God you fall under. So they want Earth to go from a free will society to a restricted will society. This is what all of your reckless laws are about. We didn't need no laws. We didn't need no prisons. All of a sudden, we need laws and prisons now because somebody called a Moor, came over here and told us we from Africa and we got to give y'all these laws and y'all got to respect these pale faces because we don't want you to know we doing it. That we responsible because we the black hand, the hidden hand, the unseen hand. We just pushing our chess pieces.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Thank you. Were there, for the record, from your perspective, because I haven't heard your perspective on slavery, was there no slave trade?
It wasn't. It was prisoners of war.
Okay.
The auctions was actually ransom parties that they used to have. It wasn't auctioning. That's the after. That's the after the effect. What they tell it, the after story. That's not the story of the time. That's the story they tell when they need to recondition history so they can make the people from the land feel like they came from somewhere else so that they can claim the land from under their feet. Jacobite, supplanter, underminer. You can't undermine somebody that got firmly established roots.
Okay, so they were being ransomed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now so it's a book that talk about it called Moors and Masonry. Talk about the ransoming of because they only they had to keep the chiefs under control to control the tribes. We was prisoners of war on family farms. Those was not plantations.
Okay, so we were working as prisoners of war. Who are we warring with? I know we know the surface, but I mean, from your teachings, for what you know, who are the people we were warring with?
We were warring with conquistadors on the southeast. We were warring with some people called gentry in the northeast. Those are your so-called English Britons. And we were fighting with Huguenots in the Louisiana Territory. In the Mexican Territory, we was also fighting the Spaniards. The Spaniards also sacked us on the West Coast where the Califia Castle used to be, which was a women's resort for training women in personal matters and matters of combat and matters of the keeping of the house. It was like a resort training center. They told you it was an island for some lady named Wonder Woman they called Diana who lived on this island. This the Califia story that they have to keep it in the mind so it can wake the people up at the right time. All you got to do is put the pieces together.
Wow.
So they bombed her castle, which they built a military outpost on, and later turned it into a prison and called it Alcatraz.
Okay, yes, I've been to Alcatraz.
Before it was Alcatraz, it looked exactly like the replica that's called the Disney Castle. That's what used to sit on the island. When you used to look across the bay, you used to see that big old castle. It was huge. But they bombed it endlessly with the Spanish Armada that came around South America and fought the wars against the Califia queens. But they told us it was a fictional story.
Wow.
Oh. Look at that.
I'm listening. I just have to turn off my camera, but I'm listening.
See.
So all of this stuff, they was telling us our own stories and laughing in our face because we didn't know the story they was telling was related to us. We didn't know that the Disney Castle was a replica of the Califia Castle But certain women that looked at that castle kept saying, why do that look so familiar to me? Because in past lives, she used to live there or work there or get trained there before she went back home and took over her family duties. Right? It's the same thing with how they take all of the holidays that we used to celebrate, call them pagan when we did them, and then they rebrand them to capitalize on them under the capitalistic system. So they using the ceremonial ritual days we already had, rebrand them and sell them back to us as a holiday. But they was already part of rituals we was doing long before they ever existed.
That's right.
Did they tell us if we do it and we follow it the way our ancestors tell it, that's evil? Why is my ancestors more evil than your people in that book? My ancestors ain't condemned the whole world to death by flood, fire, or anything else because they got a little attitude problem and scared that somebody guy gonna be bigger than them. That's idiocy.
Mm-hmm.
I can hear you now. I'm the only one. Just me. I'm the only guy that you can have. Just me. Go sit your sissy ass down somewhere. That catch you worshiping no other guys. Just me. I'm the only one. Slap that nigga in his mouth.
Can you talk to us about the atheists? What about them?
The atheists is just the ones who haven't came to the breakout from science to spirituality. But every one of them, whether it's atheism, whether it's quantum physics, they all gonna get to a point where the explainable falls apart upon trying to explain it. Then they have to accept the reality for what it is, but everybody got to go through their own growth. And sometimes the atheist stance is the only way you can actually get to see where the energy is flowing from for you to even determine who God is.
Did you ever even entertain that particular philosophy or that concept that they're...
No, I was trying to figure out why these people trying to convince me my mama wasn't my God.
All right.
I've been trying to figure that out my whole life.
Oh wow, that's beautiful. Sorry about that.
Other one.
You know, that's like one bomb for about the 20 that you deserve, but I just had to say that.
Look, I remember as a baby in my mother's womb.
And wait, Chief Hayes, not to interrupt you, but I want you, see, people they laugh at that, but you're not the only person who has mentioned
it. It's actually more common than people think.
Yeah.
But social pressure make people suppress the memory and it becomes a trauma now. It's no longer part of who you are as a empowerment. It's part of your traumatic experience to accept the reality you can remember being in the womb, but scared of the ridicule of being ridiculed for remembering.
Teach. Thank you.
Yeah, it's deliberately burying part of yourself.
I interrupted
in order to fit in.
You remember your mother's womb. Can you tell us what you remember?
I remember swimming in that mug. I remember the change in the temperature when I pissed in the womb. I remember a whole lot of stuff. I remember her telling my daddy, that boy in there flipping around like a monkey, and I was doing backflips off the side of her uterus. I remember it all.
That's beautiful. I believe you because I'm actually a doula. I'm a doula and I also work as a midwife unofficially because people be coming for me like, you know, where's your this, where's your that? But a lot of people have talked about this.
Look, I remember my mama telling my daddy, talk to the baby. He said, that little motherfucker can't hear me.
See, to your daddy now, how's he feel?
Well, look, you know, that's just Pops being himself, right? And by me knowing him, it's funny to me. But because that's how you talk. He ain't he don't mean nothing.
No, he didn't.
You know what I'm saying? But some people would take it offensive because they got these fragile egos talking about they alphas,
Okay.
but they all doing beta shit.
Oh. Since you're on that, what's this phenomenon? People might say, "Oh, it's always like this." No, but I don't think so because I've been around for a while. What is this phenomenon of men and women in loving relationships, marriages, just unaliving each other over nothing? What is going on? Is it a frequency?
It's actually taught, right? It's part of something called uncivil civil war. The goal is done through social engineering and the society disregarding what the purpose of relationships is to attach fantasies to relationships. So you mislead the people about the purpose of the relationship, what the roles of the players in the relationship. So when the malfunction happened, you justify both parties for being the broken party in the destruction of each other. So the woman that shoots her husband because he was abusive becomes celebrated. Right? The abusive husband who eventually kills his wife also becomes villainized by celebrating. They're celebrating him, but they're celebrating him as the villain. Long as they keep the same amount of out front in the celebration, the people can still feed the energy. It's about miseducation on purpose.
Can you add in though, like the Manchurian Candidate stuff? Like, is there anything that there's some? I don't know. Is there some kind of the voice to skull thing going on with this happening?
Well, they do have technology that can shoot thoughts into your head. Right. That's all copyrighted technology that anybody that Google it, it's that easy to find. That ain't even no secret no more.
Let me ask you a question. Now I'll be watching this on Netflix a lot, but they have this technology on Netflix. I don't know if it's real or is it out yet, but you know how they have those ear pod things that you put in your ear? Okay, so they have these things that they put on your temple, right? And so they playing games with them. And I've seen a couple of shows. The show is called...
I know that can come up.
Right? The show is called Black Mirror, but it's a few other shows, right? And they putting these things on their temples, and they doing insurance policies, and they put them on their temple, and they make them smell beer, and then they can see everything that happened without them even telling. They just ask them a few questions, and the next thing you know, they saw everything that happened. So you can't even lie on the insurance frauds, right? And things of that. And it's for the memory. And they playing video games, and now the video games, instead of literally your eyes roll back in your head. People are writing books now with this kind of stuff. This is the new technology with this little temple piece. Right, and they going into other dimensions and all kind of stuff with just this little thing. It's not in your ear no more. It's on your temple.
Yeah. Now let me tell you. Let me tell you a secret.
Okay.
That's old technology. The greatest and coldest piece of technology you ever gonna find is called the human body. It's the tech of the gods. They just coming with some man tech. The technology of mortals, but they still can't match the technology of the gods. The highest technology produced in the 3D by the gods is the human body, and they still trying to control it, where we gave the human the ability to control it without none of them devices. So now, while they trying to figure out how to get control of the device, the human body, the gods already gave the human control of the body and the mind.
Right, but now they trying to have a mind to
Right,
replace.
because they're trying to hijack you
There
and
you
keep
go.
you as a slave. That's that Matrix plug you in the back of the head situation.
Come
Because
on.
once they get people comfortable using it, they gonna forget they in 3D anyway.
Come
It's
on.
mass disassociation. So
Wow.
it's turning the higher mind off so it won't participate with the body. So they can control it as a computer program instead of it being controlled as a computer for the gods called the body. Your emotions, your navigation system, right? And once you know how to read your navigation system, all of their technology pales in comparison to what you can do with your own mind. You can deconstruct a technology with your mind just by looking at it.
And they're trying to figure out how to live forever, how the human body does that. Can you speak to us a little
The
bit more
human
about
body was never designed to deteriorate. That's programmable.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We got something called the human aging hormone. It's a lady to show you how it works named Cynthia King. She's a PhD out of the UCLA Berkeley gerontology program.
Mm.
The human body was designed to live eternally, but we get tired of these things. We want to look different. I want a body this year, this lifetime, where I can lift a lot of weight. But the next body, I don't want one of them big, but I want one that I can run far distances. Jumping avatars is all we call it.
Wow. Like super
And
soldiers?
yeah, look, every time we jump avatars, we write a book of life.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So when we get in the avatar, how well can you live your book of life?
Mm.
Right? This ain't nobody here by accident. Ain't nobody here by chance.
No.
It's only those who choose to wake up and those who fight it the hardest. You know how some people don't like to get out the bed.
Oh, yeah.
When you try to wake them up, they be ready to fight.
Mm.
Look, in prison, we got a rule. Don't wake nobody up because you don't know what they're going to do when they wake up.
Oh, wow. Wow.
If you got to wake your bunkie up, you're supposed to step outside the cell.
Okay. So when you say the avatars, we're back to what we're talking about. These avatars. You heard of the string theory with Michio Kaku? Like he says, there's infinite dimensions and different realms.
Yeah, that's what the show Sliders is about.
Okay, so that is something that's actually
parallel dimensions. You can see parallel dimensions sometimes if your third eye is open. But the wavelength of a parallel universe right next to you is the outside of your light spectrum, so you can't see it. It's still there. It's still visible, but it's not visible in the light spectrum you're looking in. Mm-hmm. You have to learn how to shift your consciousness in order to see the neighboring timeline. Because the consciousness wavelength you own is designed to see the consciousness in this one timeline. But the mind has the ability, they call it being psychic, clairvoyant, to look down many different timelines to find the answer to the trajectory of the timeline you own. They call that giving you a prophecy.
Right.
It's timelines.
Like Interstellar.
Yeah. And you learn how to navigate your timeline by your mama teaching you how to navigate life. If she don't teach you correctly, you're going to make all the mistakes in the world till you figure it out. But if she teach you correctly, you might make a couple mistakes. They might be big as hell because you're not going to make no little ones.
Right.
See, so, but we always take whatever mama give us is the foundation that we build our life on. Most of us don't understand that, good or bad. And some of us came down here to be treated like shit until we get our shit together.
Did they choose that?
It's in your book of life. Right. You can't experience a reality that you didn't agree to experience. It won't exist.
Right.
So we write these books of lies, then we weave them together so we can have company while we live in it. But we all come from one central consciousness.
Yeah.
We just travel different wavelengths to get here.
And what you call I don't know if I missed you saying this before or even tonight. What is we are one with the power, or what do you think of as, is there a God that is above or more powerful than you, in your opinion?
In the universal mind, all things exist.
Right.
We are just a laptop. Mm-hmm. Our short-term memory is a RAM. Our long-term memory is a hard drive. Our infinite memory is the cloud. The universal consciousness.
Yes.
We all have access to it, but most of us too lazy to do what's required to access it because of the amount of focus and concentration through training yourself to do it that come into it. We would rather try to live by somebody else's standard than make our own way. So we let other people tell us how to live our book of life instead of living the book of life that we wrote when we came. Mm. But that's also part of the conversation of, is it free will or is it predestination? Because the predestination part comes by you haphazardly following your book of life because you're still going to get to the final chapter. Mm. You're just going to do it haphazardly. But the one who chooses and applies his willpower is a straight and progressive growth. You got to start from somewhere, though.
So do you say, I want to ask you, would you say, or can you talk to me about, or us about, when you're in that, when you're outside of this material self, or okay, and you are, I guess, in between, you said jumping from avatar to avatar, are you realizing outside of self, the body, outside of flesh, oh, that's just, I could just jump from another avatar anyway. So once you're in, talk to me, like, is that particular spirit or whatever that is, that energy inside of us when we're not motivated, is it saying, well, this isn't anything anyway, I can move on?
Outside the body, we are what's called neuter gender light beings.
Yes.
Right. We have no emotions because the light is pure data. It's all information. Mm-hmm. But the wavelength of the information is feminine, a feminine wavelength. They call it wisdom. When we learn how to use it, it becomes wisdom.
Right.
Right? That's the masculine expression of it, though. The feminine expression of it is unconditional love. And that's when you connect the two, takes the highest frequency of man can reach. That's what they call your God status or your Christ mode.
I was going to say that. That's Christ.
Right. Because now you took your RAM, overrode the hard drive, and plugged straight into the universal consciousness in order to just answer the question.
I'm getting a little emotional right now from that. You hit it right there. You know, that right there. Let's stay on that, because this is the Christ mode that you said. Mm-hmm. It's the unconditional love put together with the wisdom.
Yeah.
And that unconditional love includes being humble or sacrificing, right?
The sacrifice is a misunderstood concept.
Talk to us about it.
Sacrifice is what you're willing to give up in order to help somebody with no return on investment. Yeah. Very few people are willing to give anything up with no return on investment.
Come on. There you go.
But and the side effect...
Let me ask you, if that's the Christ, we're still in the Christ, right?
Yeah.
Okay, go on, because you're feeding everybody, but this is what I'm getting the chills. So
you got to get to that level. Right. This understanding that a sacrifice is to be able to not always look for something when you do something good. You do it because it's who you is. You don't do it because somebody watching.
Come on.
This is my next photo op.
Come
You
on.
do it because that's who you are. And the side effect of that is you open up the channels of reciprocity.
Come on.
Right? Now, the reciprocity, even when you're not looking for it, brings you the gift. And then you kicks in something called gratitude. Because you didn't have to pay me for it because I didn't ask you for nothing.
See. Come on.
Now, the frequency of the being is rising, but we don't have that understanding because we stuck on the money and the power.
Come on.
Instead of seeking the money and the power, seek your higher self. Your best expression of who you are is your higher self.
Yes.
If somebody asks you a question and you don't know the answer, ask yourself why. Why you don't know the answer? It is going to make you say, well, let me go find the answer.
This is beautiful.
And after you go through life of people asking you questions that you don't know the answer to, and you go seek the people who had the answer in order to understand the answer, that's called looking at it in stages and degrees. You're building yourself up, using other people's curiosity as fuel for your growth. When you get to a certain level and you see stuff that other people didn't see because they was asking you and you didn't have the answer. But now that you done went to find all of the answers that they was asking you, put it all together. When you put it all together, you give it back to the people.
And are you acting like you are God when you do that, right? You're a God when you acting that way, when you do those
Or
acts?
you're the vessel for God. You are the hands. You are the right hand. You're the tool that God used to help others because you're in your highest form.
I love it.
One of the biggest misconceptions is being misused. People be like, oh, they was using me. Be thankful that you was useful.
Oh, wow. What about the ones who want to use you up?
That's misusing you.
Okay.
They using, if you use somebody out of context or purpose, that's misusing them.
Yes.
But if they're useful and they willing to be useful, use them. But respect that what you use because you might need it again.
That part.
Because it was useful.
And what it's because there's reciprocity going on, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
But if you offended for somebody using you, then you mad because you was useful. You gonna try to be useless.
Oh, wow. That's good. I like that. Yeah. You should be glad that you're useful.
Yeah. But just because you agreed to let somebody use you, you shouldn't feel no way about it. Because you should know where to draw the line. You ain't got to be a doormat. That thing that I will not do, I will not do. And I don't care how many times you ask me, my answer's still going to be no.
Oh, wait, please, Chief Hayes.
No is a superpower.
Chief Hayes, I say this and I want you to talk to us about submission. I'm an advocate for submission, but then people misunderstand. I tell the ladies, the sisters, I say, you're not a toilet, you're not a doormat, and you're not a buffet. Because it's not going to be a buffet, it's going to be a smorgasbord, right? You bring something, a potluck. So talk to us about submission. Does submission mean, really, I want you to talk to the other brothers.
Submission
to be a doormat?
I don't want no woman that's a doormat. I want my woman to be able to say, no, that don't make sense. Because if we do it that way, this is what's going to happen.
Sakina, you heard that?
Her sitting down because I told her to do it, talking about, yep, and we ride off a cliff. Because I thought I knew the map. And she got the map in her hand.
Oh, my God.
Listen,
that's
teamwork make the dream work.
Talk.
Don't misunderstand submission, meaning I agree with your plan. I'm going to follow the instructions that's going to help you to capitalize on the plan. The problem is, don't nobody got no damn plan and want somebody to bow down to their orders.
Okay.
And strong-willed people is going to rebel. That's nature. You can't take it out of nature. And a lot of women, after they've been through so much, become so strong-willed. They don't want to hear that bullshit. Excuse my language.
Wow.
They don't want to hear it. What? Tell me the plan. I don't care how much money you got. Tell me the plan. Where we gonna win at?
Because she's there to be there with him as one. If she sees it, she wants to be able to say, I think I know a better way, right? It's not putting him down, right?
Teamwork. The guy, you can't be intimidated by your woman. Her feminine emotions can tell you stuff about your plan that you can't see with your intellectual logic. Use it to your advantage. Don't be offended by it.
Right.
Ooh.
See, and that's what I like when you said that listen, I have but because sacrifice don't mean something got to get killed, right? And I like when you was going into the sacrifice, because when a lot of people are doing just that, when they doing it for the vibe, right? They showing they doing the giving somebody something, and they doing it with the camera and showing that they doing something for somebody, or they making sure they tell somebody they did something for somebody, and all of that. And that's not doing something for somebody. That's doing that for you. You see,
that's when they're looking for personal glory.
Exactly. So when you give somebody the shirt off your back, it's because you're doing it for that person. You see, and so that's that sacrifice, and you're willing to do that just for that. And so
that's when the love don't have conditions attached to it.
And you wasn't looking for nothing in return. So you're dropping all kind of gems.
Yeah.
And
we learn unconditional love from mama.
Yes, and so
she don't have to suckle us.
It's a lot of men out here just in the chat just throwing it, and it was something else you said, because when they say men think logically and women think emotionally, but it was something that you said about just the condition of it all. So the way you said it is, when we think of it that in that aspect, it's just a thought process altogether. And it's not saying that women or men think emotional or logically and women think emotionally. It's just the thought of it. You see what I'm saying?
It's the nature of feminine and the nature of masculine are not the same.
No, it's not. But when you take the initiative, right, and just the condition of the thought itself, right, to say, listen, I have to put her in this perspective and make this best choice. You see what I'm saying? And so I'm a man enough to put her here, and I'm cool with myself. And that is a whole condition.
Mm-hmm.
Condition. You see what I'm saying?
And that's why I say they miseducate us about relationship roles.
You see,
because if a man learned how to capitalize on the feminine aspect of his woman, he can't be stopped. He can literally walk on water at that point.
Yes. And so we as women need to appreciate, and men, you honor that, and that's what makes it work. And so that is teamwork and making dreams working. You see what I'm saying? So for us to accept the plan and be part of a plan, right?
And a lot of the males get miseducated by listening to them guys in the street that ain't never seen a real man before.
Yeah.
They are trying to figure out how to be a real man watching women.
Come on.
Wow.
So you wonder why they so bitchy.
Talk.
They can't control their tongue because the woman ain't supposed to control her tongue. She supposed to
What?
speak up when the man falling off the track, or else he won't know.
Oh my gosh. Wait, you got to say that again, please. And then I'm going to drop a bomb. Please say it again. Please. Indulge me.
I said that most of them can't control their tongue because they are acting like women who's not supposed to control their tongue because they supposed to tell the man when he falling off the path.
Nepal has it sounding like World War III in here. Okay. Bombs, y'all. Shout out to the beautiful G. Yes, that was beautiful. So women, why do these holy writings that are Abrahamic say, woman be quiet, woman don't talk? Woman
Okay, so this go back to the 18th dynasty of Egypt and what we call the priest wars.
Okay.
The war was between the Amun priests and the Aten priests. The Amun priests is the ones who wanted the goddess and the gods to be hidden. They didn't want the mortals to know that the gods walked among them, so they created what's called self-imprisoning spells for the priestesses of the Aten. So they take over the priesthood and they teach them the wrong conjure that puts them in what we call the Amen, the unknown state.
Okay.
The God self cannot show until you give it permission. You go from Amen to Aten. The symbol for Aten is the sun at high noon.
Mm-hmm.
The symbol for Amun is the sun below the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this is the dung ball, the pile of shit in the earth.
Ooh,
It has to be dug up by the scarab.
Okay. Okay.
And rolled across the earth. In other words, the scarab represents the feminine Kephra that expels the excrement in order for him to rise and become Aten. It's a blueprint, it's a star map, and it's a fairy tale, all rolled into one.
Wow.
We call it the holy drama.
The what?
The holy drama. The Abrahamic religions is the counter religions out of Babylon. To usurp the priestesses and usurp the sacerdotal seat of the sacred feminine.
Yes. Yes.
And so the origin goes back to 18th dynasty Egyptian priest wars.
Definitely. There's actually, I have an associate, well, he's an acquaintance of mine. His name is Ed Dodge. He has actually done research and everything you're saying, you just are downloading it from, let me ask you, where are you downloading this from? Are you downloading it from where? Where is this information coming into your, let's say your consciousness, and then you're giving it to us? How does that work?
So I have a lot of past life memories.
Okay, I knew it. It's Akashic Records, right?
And so I can go to my past life memories. The hard part is I have to find something in this life that can give you as a reference from my past life memory in order for you to be able to see that I know what I'm talking about from my past life memory. So when I give people the book references, and I don't need the book references. The book references are for the people that don't know that this is my memory of past lives telling you that we eternal beings, we don't never die. Life is eternal.
Wow.
And death is just the final stage of life before transition into a new stage of life.
That's absolutely correct. And this is my passion, what you're talking about. Okay, so once, I'm just going to share a really quick story. I promise I won't take over because everybody's like, we want to hear it. I do too. But I was listening to a song because when you said something, well, I don't know if you said it like this, but something made me remember a life that I had when I was actually married to someone. He had my baby in his arms, but people were chasing me, setting me on fire in my dream because they were saying I was I guess I put it together. Maybe they thought I was a witch. I the way it triggered me is as a song, but the song, every single lyric was a reminder. It reminded me of that life. I'm going to hand it over to you. That's not the only time that happened to me, though.
But what's the name of the song?
Okay, I'm going to tell you. It's Florence and the Machine, Only If for a Night. And it's like when I heard the song, I cried for, I'd say, on and off for months. Even now, I listen to that song and I know it's about my life. And the thing I remember was my husband was holding the baby. He didn't even really care. I kind of put it together that maybe he told them, and they were chasing me, setting me on fire in the drink. So what I'm getting at is it triggered that one more life, past life that I remembered was I was on, I guess it's the ziggurat, and I had touched this other girl on the shoulder, like to make her calm down. I don't know if we were being lined up to be sacrificed. So I know I had two of the memories were horrible. But the reason I'm saying that is that also was triggered not by a song, but by something I saw in a movie that had nothing. It was a children's animation movie. I don't really want to bring that one up too much. Why is that happening? Or does that happen to you?
I'm gonna give you one that happened to me. We went to New Orleans when I was, well, not to New Orleans, to Mississippi for my great grandmother's funeral when I was a little boy. And when I got down there, I had seen so much familiar stuff. And so one day I found myself sitting on the porch by myself. I'm like 7 years old, 6 years old. And I'm trying to figure out why we don't go to Granny house in this life to get the chicken and cornbread from the bowl she keep on the countertop. Because I did it in so many consecutive lifetimes. And I can't understand why we don't live in the house up the road from Big Mama house no more. Because I had done it in so many consecutive lifetimes. So I'm remembering me playing at Big Mama house. I remember being stuck behind the wraparound fences in the South. But I can't figure out for the life of me why we ain't where I'm supposed to be. And it's pissing me off. I'm a shorty. And I want to go back to Big Mama house, but my Big Mama now is in Chicago.
Oh, wow.
Right? Yeah. So now I can't tell my mama to take me to Chicago every weekend. But when Big Mama was up the street, I could just walk down to Big Mama house. In this life, I can't just walk to Big Mama house. This telling me this is my first conscious awareness that there's a severely something wrong in our community. I'm not the one that's not supposed to be able to walk up the road to Big Mama house. Something's wrong. Yeah. Big Mama not at home. She not in New Orleans where we got to come down on the raft and get off and walk up on this little island to her front door, and I can't understand why.
Wrong lifetime, right?
Wrong lifetime. This is not matching what I'm supposed to be seeing. That means something is wrong, and I got to help fix it.
Wow.
That's when I was a shorty.
How old were you around, you said?
Maybe 6 or 7.
Wow. This is, you know what? See, this part is so phenomenal. And every single thing you're saying, I absolutely relate. Because it's hard for people who haven't experienced it because they can't get to that level where, you know what they do, sadly, Chief? They say they'll have the experience and they say, oh,
and that's just your imagination.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Exactly. I see you back there.
Okay, break the word imagination down.
Go ahead.
Right?
Image.
Yeah. Am I? So the image is the root word to imagination. It's something that you see. It's the image activation in the mind of a previous time. But ain't nothing new under the sun. You connected to all of your relatives that preceded you by direct descent.
And it's still that thought, ain't it?
That's still that thought. The thought is the cause of it all. And if it came from the first spark, you can trace it back only by understanding who you are. Because you are the expression that comes down in a direct line of descent. And all of this is in your mind and in your capability, but the system we were raised in tell us that that's evil to ponder those things because the idle mind is a devil's workshop.
And they call that philosophy, don't they?
Yeah.
Come on in.
That good old monotheistic religious philosophy.
Talk your talk, Rod. Come on.
But it's all designed to usurp a woman. The Jesus story is the story of Isis. Jesus is Isis in Greek, but they tell you that it was Hebrew, but before it was Hebrew, it was Greek. Yahshua means our Savior, and our Savior has always been our mothers. Since we don't want to give your mama credit, we gonna give credit to some old stringy haired hippie. And make you follow the stringy haired hippie, and that's gonna give us control over your expression. And we gonna, as long as you put that fiat in the basket, we know that we got you.
Wow. Know, go ahead. No, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I'll say, don't let me lock this door till I get $10,000.
Oh, that's what that I think I saw that. Are you talking about that thing that's going around social media when he said lock the door?
I say it was live. He did that on live social media.
That's scary.
Yeah, you know that's kidnapping.
Yes, it's kidnapping, of course.
Unlawful restraint. They say they charged him. I don't know if they charged him for real, but they say they charged him with 4,100 counts of kidnapping.
Oh my gosh, that's
harboring or something.
This is so awesome. I need to do a stream with you about the resurrection and the afterlife and reincarnation. But look who came in. The king of consciousness coming in with the chief of breaking down decoding. Peace, Sonetter. We over here having a great time. I'm so thankful for you.
You're doing a great job, Nepal. I love it.
Listen, it's easy.
Shout out to the elder Sonetter.
Yes, peace to you, Brother Rod Hayes. And of course, Sakina Ra, y'all have done a great job tonight. I've been tapping in and out. But I would like to hold on. I would like to open up the platform right now so we can get some Q&A in the building in case anybody has some questions.
It's up to the chief.
Brother Rod Hayes, some questions. Are you up for questions, brother?
Oh man, ask for no questions. As long as you don't do too many people at one time, I get a headache.
All right, I got you. There you go. That's how we do this.
All right.
Yeah, let them ask a question and they can go out and the next person come ask one.
I agree. I'm with you on the brother was talking about all night tonight. You know, the link is in the chat. Nepal, you got it.
Yes, thank you so much, King. And you know what? We have Metter Williams. And when you said the thing about the headache, we chuckled a little, but that's also because you're on a very sensitive wavelength. People, at this point, I don't even care if they laugh. I know you know what I'm talking about. You can get overstimulated with as an empath. Am I on the right path right here?
Yeah, I like when I go to public events, I need a couple of days after to even be able to get out to bed.
Yeah, so I do know that much.
I learned how to do some psychic self-defense stuff to make it where it ain't so bad on me now. But
I will give you a little tip. I know you might have heard of this already. When you come from anything where, especially how you're doing even right now, but it's virtual. However, when you're right around people, like they can actually, they're in your energy fields. Mm-hmm. When you get home, you can do a cold dip, like a cold plunge. Something about cold water. Maybe you could talk to us if you know anything about something about cold water. It resets the energies. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, and I hate being cold too. But I know it sometimes is necessary.
Yeah.
You know, we used to just dive into old Mississippi.
So that will reset you. You know, there's a lot of physiological stuff, but you know how they do the cryogenics also with people who pass away. Why do they know about that? I know Matter wants to come in. Can you talk to me a little bit about cryogenics?
They got that technology from the people that was under the ice in Antarctica. They was telepathically communicating with the scientists because they wanted to throw them out and preserve them alive. And the scientists couldn't figure out. So if you pay attention, cryogenics has been around since the 50s.
Yes.
Admiral Richard Byrd went to Antarctica about the 30s.
Yeah, I was going to say the 30s when he was in Antarctica.
Right. So when they found the people under the ice, they thawed them out. If you go on TikTok and type in Bashinga tribe, the backstory they gave us is they brought these people from Africa and turned them loose in Antarctica and they thrived. That's not the true story. The real story is they thawed them people out from under the ice and they was already used to being cold. So once they thawed them out, it wasn't difficult for them to adapt to conditions of the ice, and they was already at home.
Okay, that makes more sense. Thank you for sharing that. So, yeah, we there's so much stuff that you said. We've already had the technology that's here now. It's ancient.
It's ancient.
Right.
Yeah. Like when we talk about the med beds and the healing chambers in the ancient writings, they just call them sarcophagi.
Sonetter, he's touching on what I was telling you about the resurrection chambers. When I
that's what we call today healing pod. Wow. Right? The med bed is a sarcophagi. The healing pod is a resurrection chamber. It can actually regenerate lost limbs.
Thank you.
And missing organs inside the body.
They were laughing at me.
It regenerates you from your genetic blueprint. It reads your biology and then it matches to your genetic blueprint.
And
if your genetic blueprint say that you're supposed to have a foot, but there's no foot here, it can stimulate the growth of the foot. That's what keloids is from.
Oh wow!
Because the Atlanteans had used the chamber so long, they learned how to mimic the chamber with the man.
Okay,
but since we forgot, we